Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're new around here, I am your hostess with the mostest, Rita M. Perez. I've been in the travel industry since 2010. I have studied hospitality. I've worked within the theme park, so I've got a lot of background when it comes to this industry. And I am really here to make sure that you are empowered to take intentional action in your travel business. And then also to provide you with really, really great resources. So if you haven't seen any of those, or if you're brand new, make sure to check out all the links that are associated with the podcast so that you can dive into my world just a little bit even more. This week's podcast episode was inspired by the great Donald Miller. So if you've never heard that name before, he is a business author. Is that, I'm like, is that the right term? He writes books about business pretty much. And the most famous one is called Story Brand, about positioning yourself as the guide to your clients who are the hero of the story. So there's a lot of different like movie and story references that kind of help you figure out this methodology that he uses. The most famous one that I always think about is Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker is obviously the hero and Yoda is the guide. So definitely a really great book to read and reread just to update and refresh, especially when you need new direction within your business and positioning and marketing and all that. But how did he come into my feed this week? It was very unexpected. It was on my personal page. It wasn't even on a business page, where he was talking about a negotiations class that he had taken. And one of the kind of methodologies that he learned within this negotiation class, he wished that he had learned when he was still in the dating world. And it made me chuckle because I've talked about this topic here before, but I haven't gone into it. And so I really want to dive into this. So what he was talking about in the dating world is something called dating NATO, not attached to the outcome. So when you're dating, you don't just date one person, you date multiple people so that your emotions aren't like just driven on one person, so that you don't feel like immense heartbreak if the one relationship you were wanting does not pan out for you. So to be in that dating phase, be dating multiple people until you realize you've found somebody that you wanted to be in a long-term relationship with, to have those options. What inspired that conversation was a negotiations class that he had taken in business. And his professor had said, when you are in a negotiation, to make sure similarly to have lots of chips on the table. So instead of just going to pitch something to one business, make sure that you're pitching to multiple business so that your emotions aren't hung up on one deal. And this got me thinking back into when I first started being inside of the travel industry, when I first started my agency. This is going to be a little bit of a story time. I wanted to focus on group, even before I knew it was going to be group cruises. Because when I first started my agency, I was focused on girlfriend getaways. Never sold a single girlfriend getaway because the group business kind of just came natural to me, but it wasn't just focused on girlfriends. And I, like many of you, have attended many conferences and was inspired to put a group trip together. And at that time, I was semi-fresh-ish off of college, and there was an organization that I was a part of, and somebody from that organization, it's a hospitality organization because that's what my degree is in, he was a baker, he is still a baker, and he was so good at his craft. Like if you follow like Food Network and some of their baking challenges, early on, he was one of the winners of one of the baking challenges. So we were super proud of him on the standpoint of this college organization. And so I was thinking, this person before we even knew it, was an influencer in his own right, because obviously he had won awards. He had just had this like really big visibility opportunity being on the Food Network. He would be a really great Pied Piper for some sort of group cruise. And that is how my baker's cruise kind of came to be, is that I reached out to him because we had mutual contacts. I didn't know him directly. And I had pitched to him the idea of this baker's cruise and him taking like his following, his community out on a cruise to learn some of his own baking techniques, and then also like to do like bakery tours and different things when we were at the different destinations that the itinerary was going to bring us to. Things were going so well. I found a cruise line partner that was happy to be flexible in coming up like with the schedule and the different things that we wanted to do on board in terms of the chef demos and all that. And communication was great. At some point, he even brought another chef that was on that Food Network challenge as kind of like a co-host for him to even like widen the reach that we were already anticipating and building on. At this point, like I'm making the website, and like, again, I started in this business 2010. Like websites were not as beautiful as they are right now. So I'm pretty sure like I made a website probably like on Vistaprint. Who even knew that Vistaprint did that? I did so much promotion, like I bought even like I made this custom shirt on Vistaprint, got it printed out. I entered my own like local baking competition for Relay for Life, because I was a part of Relay for Life for a couple years when I was during that time, and was promoting the poop out of this group cruise. And then I forget what was the actual turning point. I think I needed to get like a couple final decisions to like solidify everything, because we were gaining so much momentum, and I got ghosted, and I was so heartbroken. At that time, I did not have the thicker skin that I do have right now, and I also did not have the wherewithal to think like, well, just find somebody else. Rita at that time was like, the world is ending. I'm a failure. This is terrible. I'm never going to be able to do anything again. And so that idea of the Baker's Cruise died. And so coming back to Donald Miller, I was like, man, if I knew the things that I knew now, and if I had like the finesse and the street smarts and business smarts that I have right now, I would have totally revamped like what that opportunity would have looked like. Like I would not have ended it there. I would have found somebody else to partner with. But Rita back then was like, it can only be this way, and it didn't work this way, so it's not going to work any other way. So I share this with you because this brings into like what I've called before entrepreneurship NATO, not being attached to the outcome, where you do need to have different chips and different piles around because you don't know what's going to harvest. It's kind of similar. That makes me think, because we're in strawberry season here in Florida, the farmer is not just going to plant one seed in the ground and hope that that one seed flourishes. It is going to plant multiple seeds, and if multiple little blooms start popping up, it will go ahead and prune the weaker ones so it can focus on the strongest ones. And so we have to think about business similarly, where we are not attached to one single outcome, where we are creating multiple possibilities for us, and any of those possibilities can work out, and we'd be happy if they work out. But if one of those possibilities, for whatever reasons, fall through, we're also not like Rita from early 2010s, where we are heartbroken and then paralyzed to do anything else because all of our eggs were in this one basket. So practicing the art of being NATO, not attached to the outcome as your business owner. It gives you so many more choices as opposed to just sticking with this one route. And I think that's probably, like, if I look back, I think that's a lot of why I've been like really successful being a full-time entrepreneur, is that I don't attach myself to just one opportunity and hope that that one's going to stick. I have my hands dipped in a couple of different things, and if one works out, amazing. If another one doesn't, that's okay, because I've already been working an angle in this other area as well. Because if we were going to replay that scenario with 2025 Rita, I would have been like, well, sorry, your loss. Whereas like 2010's Rita was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser. I suck at this. But 2025 Rita is very much like, you missed out on an amazing opportunity to like really get to know and engage your community. I'm going to find somebody else who will put this baker's cruise on the map. And I probably would have talked to a couple of different people. This is very much similar to, there was another group cruise idea that has to do with the health space that it was just wrong timing, that didn't work out as well. And sorry, words. And I think about that wasn't as such a big loss, because I am so connected in that space that if one avenue didn't do it, and the space was also really generous, they would have referred me to somebody else that could have taken the reins. So thinking about it like that, because again, if we're recreating Baker's Cruise, I would have found somebody else, because it is my proprietary idea. It was not theirs. So when you are thinking of like your own groups or any sorts of partnerships, make sure to put yourself out. This is why I'm such a huge advocate for putting yourself out there, networking, being involved in the local community, whatever sort of like community you might automatically belong to. Like, I always think of parents, because parents, you have that automatic community because your kids go to school. Well, obviously there's going to be more parents and other adults that are there that you can commune with, share the same horror stories of parenthood and all that with. So there's just this automatic community built in. But there's some of us who don't have that. Like, I am not a parent, so I don't like have an automatic community. So I have to make my communities and put myself out there. So what can you do in order to create that community so that you're building all these relationships? And it doesn't mean that you need to like go full force and be like, I'm going to create this for them and this for them and that for them. But this means that you have options. This means that you have multiple different ideas, that you have multiple different angles that you can play at for these types of ideas also. This might even mean that it might not be you that gets the benefit from these relationships, but it's somebody else that you might know along the line. So how then can you be a little bit more not attached to the outcome? And I am going to refer back to things that can also be related to dating, but especially when it comes to the entrepreneurial world, is really play the field. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit selfish. And especially if you are starting up your business, or if you're trying to refresh your business and get yourself back on the right tracks, you have to do what is in your best interest. I'm not saying that you're supposed to be like a bad person or anything. I'm just saying no one is going to look out for your business like you are going to look out for your business. So you need to do the things that are going to put yourself first. One, because first, you got bills to pay. And two, there's also a higher mission that you have, that you are on. Because why would you be doing this if there wasn't a higher mission involved? Whether that's you are wanting to open other people's eyes to different cultures, whether that's you want to help families heal trauma that you have experienced, whether that's you have faced adversity because of your special dietary needs or special mobility needs or whatever it might be, and you want to help other people in similar situations experience the world. Everybody has their own mission. I would say nobody's more important than the other, but you have to advocate for that mission just like you have to advocate for yourself. And playing the field allows for that. And by playing the field, I really mean like going out there, making connections, not being attached to the outcome, opening yourself up to see what the possibilities are so that you're able to make better choices for yourself and more educated choices too, because you have those choices. I feel like if this was a drinking game, we might be all candy wasted or whatever because of how many times I've said the word choices. Do not be drinking. The other thing on how you can be more not attached to the outcome is to invest in the time and to invest in the people that will also invest their time with you. Because especially when we think about dating, how many times when you were in that dating world, you may not be in that anymore, but how many times, or if you've seen it like on TV or in reality TV, that we see people investing so much time, so much effort in other people who give them pennies, who give them like crumbs. And you're probably like looking at the TV or telling your friend like, why are you they don't even care about you. This is why you need to not be attached to the outcome, because you are going to be able to have a clear mind to see and decipher, like, is this somebody that I should be spending my time with, investing my time with, having a partnership in business with? Or is this person just selfish and they want me to help boom their business and they're not going to do the same for me in return? Because that's also what's important, is that when we're creating relationships, that they're mutually beneficial for each other. Not saying that sometimes you might need something more and sometimes the other person might need a little bit more, but this has to be like, the vibes have to be there. The values for the relationship, how you're putting everything on this pedestal needs to be in alignment in order for this to work, and also in order for you not to be attached to the outcome, because you have been loyal to yourself and loyal to your values and your mission. Another way to not be attached to the outcome is to focus on those things that make you really happy. And I think like that's a muscle that you have to exercise over time. Like, I know for me that did not come easily, but the more that I almost like trusted my intuition, and the more that I lean on the things that give me like that yes, this is what I want to do, the more that those types of opportunities kind of weirdly fall on my lap. Now, we know that the opportunities don't fall on the lap. There's been like years of work that has been ingrained, whether that's relationship building, whether that's boosting your SEO, whether that's boosting your digital presence. There are things that might coincidentally seem like a coincidence or might seem lucky, but you have put all these feelers out in the hopes that something would happen. And because you put your faith that something is going to happen, regardless of what the outcome might be, you are in a better position because you are focusing again on you and what makes you happy. And I think there's a little bit of distinction when it comes here, because there are certain things that we're going to be like, yes, I want to do this group. I want to partner with this supplier. I want to partner with this local business owner. And like, we just know instinctively. And then there's other times where we're like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not sure. And I would encourage you, when you're not like totally sure yet, to still explore that and see what it could be. Maybe not invest too much of your time yet, because there's something in your intuition that's a little, that it's got the spidey senses that is not too sure about what that might be. But being able to cultivate that a relationship that you thought initially might not be for you might eventually turns the corner and does end up being for you. So really focusing on those things that make you really happy. And it's not even those things that make you really happy. It's just partnerships. And this is why mission has to be also number one. That's something that I take away from my nonprofit days. If you didn't know, I have my master's degree in nonprofit management, and everything is done for the mission of the nonprofit organization. And so when I initially said like being selfish to you because you got to pay bills, but then also being selfish to your values, this is really what I mean. There's something bigger than you within your business. You may have discovered what that is. That's something that you may still be working on to figure out. But once you find different opportunities that line up with that mission, it is like your heart literally sings. You get so giddy. It's kind of like maybe when you feel like you've found your soulmate in the dating world, is that you are like, oh, it just feels good instinctively. This might be in your heart. This might be in your belly. But something just feels amazing. But that is the blessing of not being attached to too many things or to like the one thing, is that you're able to clearly see what the other options are on the table for you. And then also, when I think about how to be more not attached to the outcome, I also want you to be a little bit brave. And I know that this is also a muscle that has to be flexed that will come over time. But when I say brave, I want you to make the first move. And this could be inviting people to like a coffee chat. This could be after like having built a relationship, being like, have you ever thought of doing this type of trip or putting this type of group together? Making the first move is a super bold choice, but I do agree that fortune favors the bold. And you have to be a little bit gutsy. Again, that's kind of where the selfish, but selfish in a positive light comes in. That you need to have your best interest at heart. And sometimes the best opportunities came because you opened your mouth and made it happen. And I'll never forget, like, one of the biggest windows that I've gotten to opportunity in my space was because I offered my assistance on something, on a project. And me opening my mouth saying that I could be helpful for this project, just giving a suggestion, has opened so many other doors for me. And that was a very bold, because Rita in the past would not have done that. Rita would have been very scared. I know that's weird that I'm talking in third person, but the version of myself in the past would never have had the guts to have gone up to a senior executive person and said, I feel like I could be of value. And I feel, again, there's just certain confidence muscles that you have to press. But I feel like that's also the difference between somebody who is in business because that needs to be their full-time livelihood versus somebody who's in business and that is not their full-time livelihood. Because there's a lot more on the line when you are a full-time entrepreneur, and you are going to get gutsier because it has to work out for you. There is no other substitution. And I think knowing that helped me to become a little bit more bold so I can ask for the things that I want. And I know, especially this past year, I have been even gutsier in terms of like being able to identify, this is what I do really well, and these are the things that I want to do. And those things that I don't really want to do, it's been much easier for me to kind of be like, you know what, here's a referral for somebody else. They might be best fit for this type of project that you're working on. And that would never have come from Rita from 2010 when I was first starting in full-time, or it wasn't full-time entrepreneurship, but when I was starting my own business. So I don't want you to feel discouraged if that's not you just yet, because that will come with time. And that also comes with practice. It's not like you have to wait around and be like, okay, I think I'm ready for this. Maybe sometimes it might be like that. but it's also that you have to practice putting yourself out there. Just like if you are in the dating space, like nobody's going to just knock on your door and be like, do you want to get married today? You have to go out there and seek potential partners for your life. You have to do the same thing for your business. You have to put your business first. And so maybe the simplest thing is to be able to list your business like as a Google business profile. So at least your business is out on the interweb some way. Maybe this is like starting your social media handles. I want you to kind of like build up like step by step by step. Figure out what is that ultimate goal that you are wanting to do, and then reverse engineer it to do baby steps to that. I knew that the method of what I had been previously doing, focused just on social media and email marketing, wasn't working for me. And I knew that I had to do things outside of my comfort zone, way outside of my comfort zone. And that meant meeting and talking to people, which is still makes me a little anxious, but I do it because I know my business depends on it. My livelihood depends on it. And I also feel because I do it so often now, I don't have to worry about like one thing working for me or one thing not, because I know that the right things are going to come to the forefront because I've been nurturing and tendering to all my little seeds and my little seedlings. And I continue to place little seeds into the earth to see what might sprout up whenever the timing is right, whenever my heart starts singing and all that again too. So I hope that this has given you either a much needed boost or some inspiration for not being attached to the outcome. So if you have been waiting for a certain group leader to get back to you, that you can't wait to put X group together, maybe it's time to move on from this person and go to the next person. If you have been waiting to put a group together to find a person, maybe it's time for you to start doing some research on alternatives that might be super helpful for you. Everything does not have to rely on this one thing that maybe has been a little bit of a burden for you because you haven't been able to get answers or you haven't been able to get responses back from. I want to give you the permission to release this. It must be one and done and this one thing. And if it's not this one thing, it can't be anything else. Release that mindset and start thinking there could be different possibilities, or we could do it different ways. And being more open to what potential outcomes might look like instead of just this one way that you've been thinking about the problem or the issue for a while. So I hope this has certainly boosted you. Feel free, pop that link. It says the Send Rita Your Thoughts. Click on that link to send me your thoughts on this episode. And you go out there, travel biz owner. You are rocking it. I believe in you, and I can't wait to see all the things that you do with your new entrepreneurship NATO mindset.